Okay, we're live on there, and you're all set.
All right, my name is Tim Cassidy. I'm president of the Zionsville Board of Parks and Recreation, and this is the call to order of our regular monthly meeting, Wednesday, February 10th. And I'll next do a roll call of members. Vice President John Stair.
Present.
Secretary John Wollenberg.
Here. I can't get my video going though.
All right, we can hear you just fine. Jill Pack.
Here.
John Salovich.
Here.
Aaron Bidwell.
Present.
Sarah Moore. All right, we think we have a new member from the library, Sarah Moore, but I haven't had that confirmed yet. Jared, can you confirm whether she's a member yet officially or not? Do you have any?
Yeah, I believe that was
on that.
Yeah, I believe that was a part of the town information that went out today about official postings. And we did reach out to her again, so hopefully she was able to check her email.
All right, so Joe Rust, FYI, there's a Sarah Moore, our new member, who may be out there seeking to join us.
And I just I got information through Mindy that we're getting that to her.
All right, great. And I would like to introduce our IT professional, Joe Rust, who's on the line, and our superintendent of parks, Jared Logston, and our board Parks Board attorney, Roger Burris. This time, you've all received a draft copy of the January 13th minutes of our last board meeting. Are there any comments, questions, or motions to approve?
I have one, Tim, on the very first thing in the minutes, the listing of the board members and term lengths and all that. I'll speak for myself. My years are incorrect. The last two columns are wrong.
Yep.
It should be serving through the end of 2021, next open for appointment in 2022.
Yeah, John, let me interrupt. And I also noted some what I believe are mistakes, and I've passed those on to Jared today. Real quickly, they all relate to the serves through and position next to open years. And for you, it was served through 2021, not 22, and next position open 22. For me, I'm on a 4-year term that ends at the end of this year, 2021. I'm about 90% certain of that, by the way. So, and John Wollenberg, I think, again, 90% certain that that is correct. His term, 4-year term, ends at the end of 22. Jill Pax is correct. I believe she ends at the end of 2023. John Salovich, who was just reappointed, he was on a short term. He had assumed the position of George Abel. He's now on a new 4-year term, so that will serve through the end of 2024. And Aaron Bidwell and Sarah Moore are on annual. Again, their terms would end at the end of this year, and they'd be open for new appointments or reappointments next year.
Hi, Sarah.
There is Sarah.
You're muted.
Hi. Sorry, the link in the board packet didn't work for me, but Mindy got me on. So sorry I'm late.
Great, fantastic. Well, Sarah, yeah, we're just going over minutes from the last meeting. So we were just mentioning your name and confirming that you were the new appointee from the library board. So welcome very much. Yeah, I hope yeah, we have a long and fruitful relationship with the library, and thanks for your service on our Parks Board. So please feel free to, again, these are relatively formal meetings, all things considered, since they're public meetings and have to be. But you know, most importantly, speak up if you have any questions at all tonight.
Okay, that's wonderful. I'm really excited to be here and be able to work with you, and I hope we can find lots of opportunities to work with our organizations too.
Yeah, we obviously have the great joint venture that's going on, so it's very timely that you're getting involved with our board. So welcome. Okay, going back to the minutes from our January 13th meeting, I had one other comment, and that was related to the increase in the golf course's revenue in 20 versus 19. And we were going to double check that, but it was not as great as 135,000 of revenue in 19, and then the 351 in 2020. I think that my recollection is that it was 235 of revenue in 19, and then it increased to 351,000 in 20. Jared, were you able to confirm that?
Yep, it was 239 for 19.
So still a substantial increase in revenue, but it wasn't 150%. It was more like merely 100% increase. So, any other comments or questions on the minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve the minutes of January 13th?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes with those changes in the dates on the membership and the change in the revenue of the golf course.
Is there a second to Member Stair's motion?
I'll second.
Member Salovich seconds the motion to approve the minutes. Any other questions? I'll do a roll call vote. Member Stair,
Aye.
John Wollenberg,
Aye.
Jill Peck,
Aye.
John Salovich,
Aye.
Aaron Bidwell,
Aye.
Sarah Moore,
Aye.
and I also approve. So the motion carries 7-0 to approve January 13th minutes as amended or as with the changes noted tonight. Next on our agenda is the time for public presentations. Again, this is a public meeting. If there are any members of the public who would like to make a short presentation or have any comments whatsoever, now is the time for you to speak. Anyone? If not, then we'll move on to our staff reports, and I'll turn the meeting over to Superintendent Jared Logston. Jared, take it away.
Thank you. Just a couple quick announcements here. The first being we have a dog park. We opened up at the beginning of February, and as we reported earlier, all 200 passes that were available sold out in 13 hours. So there is definitely a high demand for that amenity. We will be developing a waiting list and having more of a lottery polling for future spots and permits moving forward. And from there, we're going to kind of keep track of peak usage and see how many more people we can get into that dog park. And so we'll talk about that in later months. Had a meeting with the impact fee committee, and we discussed some of the benchmarking and the levels of service. So we're kind of buttoning up all that and should be moving on to calculations within the month and a final report to follow. The biggest goal is to make sure that the impact fees that we're establishing are going to help us as we move forward and grow, so we can actually utilize them and they're relevant to our growth. Received notification that the 2019 application we submitted for the next level trails is reopened. So that original application is being reviewed again. They're kind of giving a progress report and seeing where all the projects in the state are. And we don't have a timeline on when they'll be awarding or selecting their applicants, but we are still in the running, so that's great news. And that was for the rail trail project. It's a substantial grant, and our match was the land acquisition for the trail, so we're already moving well on that. So,
was there anything we had to do to update the grant application or anything else?
They did ask once we do receive, that ownership of those parcels, or at least documentation, that we forward that on to them. So if we have anything new within the last year concerning the rail trail, we could forward that to strengthen our case.
And the ask is 1.8 million?
Yep.
So that would be a great help to our efforts to complete the extensions of our rail trail and to improve, some of our rail trail in the middle that's falling apart. And of course, we had the somewhat unexpected expenditure that we're going to have with the south extension of the Starkey Avenue Bridge. So that new bridge is really straining our budgets. But so yeah, let's keep our fingers crossed. That's great news.
Yeah, and just a couple more quick updates. We did have a meeting with the Parks Foundation. John and I were able to introduce ourselves and kind of talk about how we can begin to form that partnership and what that'll look like moving forward. We'll discuss that later in the meeting tonight. And then a couple of updates from the golf course. Even though they are closed, they have already sold 47 season passes, which for 2020, they only sold 23. So already we're seeing that it's going to be another great year for the golf course. And the golf cart should be delivered in December or March, a little bit after we open, and that's just to keep them safe until we weather this winter. And that is all of my updates at this time.
Would you like to introduce Dave or Mindy, or are you giving any? Are you covering their staff reports, Jared?
I'll cover Dave's and then I'll hand it off to Mindy. Dave and his crew have been busy, as you can imagine, keeping up with the snow and clearing the ordinance related pathways and sidewalks, in addition to pathways and sidewalks around our parks and in our parking lots. In addition to that, they have been working on that drainage issue, which is currently closing half of the dog park. So we should have that buttoned up within the month, and we'll be in a good shape for adding those additional permits and opening up the entire park. And so that's the update from maintenance.
All right. I think Mindy Murdoch, would you like to give a brief update, or as our Director of Recreational Services? Do you have anything you'd like to update the board on, Mindy?
Yeah, sure. So I hope you guys can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yep, coming in
All
fine.
right. Everyone was quiet. I wasn't sure. But yeah, just for us, at the Nature Center, we're continuing our virtual field trips as well. We had 3 more school programs as well as some scouts, and we've got a few even lined up into March. So we're trying to get things moved before those next programs start. So we're kind of have a place to be. But we also kind of went the route with we did the camp kits in December. Those did very well. So we actually did a winter science kit for Martin Luther King weekend. And we did end up selling 35 of those kits. Again, we never expected that many, so we will take it. And that was a kit that they had, and then 1 Zoom lesson on Martin Luther King. So after we paid for all of our materials, which a lot of it, we were just using what we had in the Nature Center, since we knew it meant less for us to try to move. We ended up making a profit of $428 out of those kits. So that's a great revenue for us. And it helps just fund more programs that we can do in the future. We also, I hosted a Recycling 101 webinar. I know a few maybe have popped in or at least watched the YouTube video of it. But that was a webinar that I worked with Kelvin from Raise Trash and Jennifer from the Boone County Solid Waste Management District to hold about an hour-long webinar, opportunity for people to answer questions of really just what can you recycle, what happens to your recycling, so very in-depth. And that was kind of in line with, I know you're going to have a talk on the climate action plan for Zionsville. So that was one of the strategies in the climate action plan, was recycling education. So we had 73 people register for that webinar. And then Amanda did post it on the town's YouTube. And as of the end of January, there were 404 views. I didn't pop in and see if I'm sure that's gone up, but so it's definitely something that people are starting to look at. But most of January has been really just getting the Nature Center up and moving. So we did finish the inventory, and I know that's a part of the packets of and I apologize for the many pages of inventory, but 20 years of stuff, it takes a lot to get through. But we did actually this week, with Sarah's help, we got our keys, me and Rachel, and we got our code. And we actually started to move things in. So I don't know if you're on Facebook, you probably saw the picture of one of our round trips with the raccoon and the fox in the back of the SUV. But other than that, just a lot of what I've been doing, working with Jared, is just a lot of program planning. So had a chance to sit down with Rachel and kind of go over what we envision for the year for the Nature Center. And then also sitting down with Jared and going over what we envision for as we start to move into rec, what we can do right away, and where we think we're going to need instructors or additional staff. And then also had a meeting this week actually with the librarians to kind of build off how that partnership is going to look with programming as things start to open back up. And then just I'll touch base. There'll be a little bit more, and you'll actually see some of these coming out. But I did have an interview with Zionsville Monthly the end of January on quality of life in parks. And then I just did a blog post. It should come out at the end of this month for Boone County Economic Development on parks and areas to get outside in Boone County. So we did highlight a lot of the Zionsville parks as well as others. And then I just wrote an article for Amanda that's going to be in the beginning of March, that's going to actually showcase some winter park escapes here in Zionsville. So 3 great ways to kind of get that marketing of, why parks are important and some of the parks that we have here in the community. So, but otherwise, if anyone has any questions, that's what I got.
Mindy, do you or Jared want us, the board, to do anything with the list of inventory that was in of Nature Center inventory that was in the packet?
Yeah, I was going to ask to add that to the old business because we're going to update what we have.
Okay, I'll do so.
And
I would just add that the recycling presentation was awesome. I wasn't able to do it live, but I watched it recorded and learned a ton. So I did share it to my neighborhood. I would suggest everybody, if you haven't seen it, go look at it. And if you have the opportunity, share it to your neighborhoods, because there's a lot of information in there that I think a lot of Zionsville does not know.
And I also, Mindy, do you know our plan at the library for reopening? Because it just, Boone County turned yellow today on the state's map, which means that if it continues to stay yellow, we will open to foot traffic on, I believe, the 1st of March. So that's what we're on track for. And I'm sure we'll talk with you more about, planning for how that's going to work for all of us. But
right.
I was really excited to see us turn yellow.
Yeah.
I was going to comment on the recycling issue that most of you may not know that when recycling was first started in Zionsville, it was started by the Parks Department. And
oh, wow.
I remember a collection event in Lions Club Park where I think David Brown was the president of the park board back then, and Al Smith was the superintendent, if anybody remembers those names. So we certainly have a long history of supporting recycling.
Great, thanks. And I think our role may get raised in that regard again with our town climate proposal that's coming up here shortly. But let's turn to Roger Burris for the staff report from our park board attorney. Go ahead, Roger.
Okay, certainly been very busy with various matters. I have been in touch with the Parks Foundation, Nancy Carpenter, and of course John Stair, and another member, and we're hoping to have a meeting next week. Start talking about how some of that will be working. Nancy Carpenter has been an advocate for parks in Zionsville for probably more than 20 years. We had a land committee of the Parks Board years ago, which she led. So she's very well qualified to be involved in that, and I'm really excited. Welcome Sarah Moore also, because I represent the Library Leasing Corporation, so I've worked with Sarah a little bit via that. Sarah had an excellent question about whether we have to submit the names of our new members to any other county officials, which apparently is a law that applies to library board members, but not to Parks Board members. But it was just a good review and confirmation of some of the, also that, some employees of the town have to be bonded because they deal with money. But again, I think we're all covered, and so is the library.
Yep.
I've been looking at several sets of construction plans, and also there's a matter that we've been asked to weigh in on regarding an alley vacation. And alley vacations are handled by the town council, but in this particular case, it adjoins the rail trail. This is at the end of Pine Street, at the west end of Pine Street, and there's an unbuilt lot at the end of Pine Street on the north side of the road that actually we sold several years ago because there was this lot that kind of came with the rail trail, and we didn't really have any use for it. So we thought it would be better if we, sold it to somebody who wanted to build a house there, because that would add to the assessed valuation of the town. And so we did that. And now the people that own that lot also own the lot that backs up to it from Oak Street. And so if you can imagine them owning two lots that basically connect or would connect from Oak Street all the way to Pine Street, if not for an old alley, that the alley would dead end into the rail trail. And there's a pretty steep incline there. So, we have a ramp not too far away that leads down to the rail trail. So I really don't think that they're seeking to vacate that small portion of the alley would have any negative impact on the rail trail or any other property of ours. And the town ordinances regarding vacation of alleys say that the owner seeking a vacation has to notify any adjoining property owners. So their attorney, Mike Andrioli, notified us. I've reviewed it. I pulled my old file regarding our sale of that lot just to make sure I wasn't missing anything. And I really don't see that there's any problem. I also asked the planning department about their thoughts, and they've said that they'll be providing their comments to the town council, and that basically I would ask if there's any questions, and if not, or if there are, that if there could be a motion indicating that we do not have any present objection to that petition, so that we can pass that along to Mr. Andrioli. And I don't know if he's listening in. If he is, then I'm sure he's available to comment, but any problem with it.
Yeah, I am aware of the lot near the Pine Street ramp, and it's on the other side. It's not involved in the pathways plan from when I was in the pathways committee. So I would move that we just express a no position or lack of objection. How would you like us to word that, Roger?
That's fine. No objection.
That we would, a sense that we would not object to the vacation of the alley property in question.
I'll second that.
So I've made the motion. Member Stair has seconded it. Are there any other questions about that, about this matter? If not, I'll do a roll call vote. Again, it's a motion to not object to the vacation of the alley between the westernmost Pine Street lot and the alley and the property on its other side that fronts onto Oak Street. All right, Member Stair?
Aye.
Member Wallenberg?
Aye.
Member Pack?
Aye.
John Salovich?
Aye.
Aaron Bidwell?
Aye.
Sarah Moore?
Aye.
I also vote aye, so the motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
What else, Roger?
something very interesting that the Nature Center is doing that I think should also be approved by the board. And that's in cooperation with the National Association of Interpretation, which I didn't know such a thing existed, but Rachel's been asked to allow them to post one of her webinars, and basically that they would agree to pay the Parks Department a share of their profits. So it's sort of like a royalty agreement. They submitted an agreement that I reviewed and made some suggestions on. But, you know, I think it's been reported before, you know, that we're doing a lot of these programs by webinar, and that's certainly a good thing. This goes a little beyond that because I think it's being opened, you know, to people maybe all over the country, or I'm not sure how far it extends, but it seems to me that it's quite an honor that we're being asked to contribute to that. I think it is consistent with our mission because it could lead to some more funds in our non-reverting operating fund for the Nature Center, which we could certainly use. I bet Mindy or Jared might be able to answer questions better than I. I was just asked to review the contract and make some comments, which I've done.
Mindy just let me know it's actually an international organization, so.
Very nice. So if there are not any questions, or if there are, I would request a motion to enter into that agreement so that our Nature Center can go international.
All right, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the proposed agreement with the that will syndicate Rachel Felding, our naturalist? Is there subject matter on the video or the presentation? Jared, do you know?
I'm not sure what the subject is. I'm sure Mindy knows. It's our camp kits that were highly successful over the winter. And
Yeah,
again,
sending camp home is the name of it.
All right. So I'll go ahead and move that we approve the contract to license out to the international organization in question our Rachel Felding program. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Was that Jill Pack who seconded that?
No, it was me.
That was Sarah.
Oh, it was Sarah Moore. Okay, Sarah Moore seconds the motion. Any other questions on it? All right, roll call vote. John Stair,
Aye.
John Wollenberg,
Aye.
Jill Pack,
Aye.
John Solovich,
Aye.
Aaron Bidwell,
Aye.
Sarah Moore,
Aye.
and I also vote aye, so the motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. The last thing I wanted to bring up was that we now have the construction plans and the bid documents for two projects that are sort of similar. One is the Turkey Foot Bridge repair, which some of you have heard a lot about. You know, we did a temporary repair knowing that we'd have to do a larger repair in the future. We had to get approval by the Department of Natural Resources for construction in a floodway, and that permit has been received. The engineer on the project is SJCA, formerly Steve J. Christian Associates. They're the ones who did the original design and construction supervision for the Turkey Foot Pathway Bridge. And this contract is a little challenging from a bidding standpoint because it's so small. Their estimated cost is about $26,000. And I talked to Rusi, the design engineer, about that. He said that he would not recommend that we bid it right now. And secondly, he said we really should spend some more time, you know, trying to figure out what bidders might be appropriate. And on a project that small, we don't have to go through the full-blown public bidding process, but we do have to solicit proposals, you know, or bids, so to speak, from at least 3 contractors known to do that sort of work. But this would be more like almost like a residential framing contractor than a commercial builder. So in thinking about that, then the next thing I was reviewing was the plans for the Starkey Park stair reconstruction, the SP3 stair project. Those plans are also done and ready to be put out to proposals. I think that project, and that was reviewed by the park board last year with regard to, which of the options we felt would be the best option, which I think we decided the wooden stick-built option would be probably the best, and it's one of the cheaper options. So I think that was estimated preliminarily a few months ago at a little over $100,000. So in thinking about both those projects, Jared and I thought, gee, maybe we should bid them together because, if the bigger the better in terms of the possibility of attracting more competitive proposals or bids. So we haven't finalized anything. I mean, the plans I think are ready for the park board to review and to approve. And then I think within the next month or so, Jared and I thought we might ask Tricia, maybe see what her thoughts were as well, because they are kind of similar projects. Obviously they're not connected, but they're in the same town. And, whatever we can do to attract the best pricing possible, would be in our best interest. Jared, do you have any comments?
No, I absolutely agree. I think, like you said, we will struggle with that smaller project. So to lump it in, get a little bit of an economy of scales, and to get someone that's used to larger projects makes sense.
Is
So
there anything you can do with the rest of the city, or with projects like this as well too? I mean, something like if the street, obviously if the street department has something.
That would be worth looking into. I think it is a little unique to us because it is, two wooden structures, but for sure we could circulate that information and find out.
There will be like concrete piers for both projects. So, and that was the thing that we got into with the Turkey Foot Bridge that, we didn't really anticipate. And that's what made it a project that required DNR approval for construction in floodlight way. So yeah, I think if we, we've got time to see what we can do to properly queue it up and try to get the best bids possible. So why don't we make sure we have approval of the plans on the agenda for next month, get those out to everyone. And in the meantime, Jared and I will continue to explore options on how to best attract a good contractor. So I don't think we have any decisions tonight, but any questions on any of that?
No, I'm very familiar with the Turkey Foot Pedestrian Bridge project and have looked at those tentative plans. So yeah, let's get the plans out to each of the board members for both. I haven't seen the final Starkey Park stair design, but we've all talked about it and I know what to expect on that. So, and then you guys figure out what sort of approval you need from the board next month. That will give you the flexibility to maximize the chance that we're going to get a good solid bidder for one or both of the projects.
Great.
Anything else, Roger?
No, I'll probably have more comments down the line on old or new business, but that's all I had in addition.
All right, then let's move on to new business, and we'll next consider the town of Zionsville's Claimant Action Plan. And I'd like to introduce Carol Johnson of the mayor's office. Carol, are you here? All right. I see it. Great. So let me introduce Carol. And actually, as a preliminary to that, let me acknowledge and introduce Jill Pack, our board member, who from day one, along with Mindy Murdoch, has been involved in this town effort with the resiliency group in IU and trying to come up with this climate action plan. So Jill, do you want to start the ball rolling by giving brief background and then introducing Carol and the action plan as you see fit?
Oh, absolutely. Thanks. So the climate action plan is kind of the culmination of, for us, a little over a year-long process, which started last January. I had actually, through my co-chair of the Boone County Voices for Change Environmental Committee Chair, Corley Palmer, we met with the prior mayor, Mayor Hawk, and Deputy Mayor Mitro and Amanda Vila to talk about the Environmental Resilience Institute and their program, which it's a group that Janet McCabe was heading for IU, and they put together this program where they were looking for communities within Indiana to address ways they could impact climate change. And, you know, whether it's a huge community or a small one, it really didn't matter. It's like, you do what you can do. And the first step was to do a greenhouse gas inventory. The prior mayor chose not to participate, but I kept it on the back burner. And when Mayor Styron was elected, but before her inauguration, because the application process starts in December, we actually applied in 2019 and started the cohort, the environmental resiliency cohort through IU in January of 2020. And we had to do 2 years work in 1 year, which was a lot of work. And it was mostly a lot of work on Mindy's part. So Mindy took it on herself to complete the greenhouse gas inventory, which was year 1, and that was completed. And then we had an intern from IU, Maddie Miller, who worked with Mindy and the park superintendent, both prior and current, and with Carol to put together, and with some other town people as well, Wayne DeLong and Lance and myself and a couple of community members. And we put together a climate action plan, which really addresses what we can do as a community to control and reduce our emissions and greenhouse gas emissions to be ready for what's coming, because we all know that there are going to be changes, and so we need to be resilient and be ready for them. So we know we're going to have hot days and colder cold days and more severe storms. So with Carol and Mindy and Maddie Miller, they put together this great climate action plan, which addresses many things. And so now I'm going to pass it off to Carol, and Carol can talk to you about some of the specifics. And as a Parks Board, we would like to have the Parks Board adopt the climate action plan. This is going to the town council next week. They've heard it before. It's on our website. There's lots of things. We've started some things already, regardless, but Carol, take it away.
All right. Would it be possible to share a presentation in this format, or would that need to happen through someone else?
Carol, you should be able to share your screen with no problem.
Joe, it's not an option for me. I am just able to talk.
Let me try something.
Hey, there we go. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Joe.
Bet.
Get this set up. Okay. Well, like Jill said, my name is Carol Johnson. I am the executive assistant to the mayor of Zionsville. I really appreciate you taking some time out of your night tonight to hear about our climate action plan. And I can get through this very quickly because Jill did a fantastic job of starting us out. basically, what is the process? And Jill described we are already on milestone number 4 because of her hard work, Mindy's hard work, and our intern Maddie's hard work. I am really grateful for all the effort that's gone into getting this process. We are ready to implement our climate action plan. So really, when you look at the plan, it is designed with 4 main sections. There are strategies within each section. We talk about clean energy and energy savings, green transportation, waste diversion, and local sustainability. And throughout the report, you'll see icons that show co-benefits of these different strategies. We want it to be clear for readers that things like paths don't only impact our greenhouse gas emissions, they also improve our sustainability, natural environment, community engagement. So with Zionsville, we're forecast to double our population by 2050, which makes it really hard to look at emissions and try to bring them down. So our goal is to stabilize them. And this plan addresses our strategies for that. So where does the Parks Department come in specifically? Throughout the report, there are 5 strategies that specify the Parks Department as having a role. They may not own these wholly, or they might, but they are strategies that we will need the Parks Department's help to accomplish. This plan needs input and help from every department in Zionsville to make it happen. And I included the icons on the side. I looked at these five strategies, and these are the icons, the co-benefits that would go along with them. So the work that you do really does impact our community. I don't think anything on this list should be terribly novel or something a surprise to you. The one I think we might not get to do this year is the community-wide free cycling event. It's an idea I'm excited about, but I don't know if 2021 will be the right year to get that done. I know Mindy talked a little bit about recycling education, and she is right, that recycling webinar has been very well received. I checked today, there were 428 views. It is fantastic. And I'm really excited that she is a part of the education that we are doing in Zionsville. So really what's next? This year, we are part of the cohort for 2021, which is focused on implementation. We are going to work on our strategies and our plan. And we have 3 modules, is what they're calling them, that the Environmental Resilience Institute is providing technical assistance on. So we will focus on those 3 topics throughout this year, in addition to the strategies in our plan. And one way we hope to move these strategies forward is by hiring a climate fellow, which will be our summer intern, much like Maddie was last year. So this could be a grad student or an undergraduate student from any IU campus. For 2021, they're calling them climate fellows, but it's the same idea. And honestly, we would not be where we are today without Maddie Miller's help last year. Our greenhouse gas strategies and plans will be updated every 3 years. Our plan is to share back to our community and to our boards what's gone well, what have we accomplished, what have we missed, what can we do better at, what new strategies have we found that weren't in the first plan. This plan is not the end all be all climate action plan for Zionsville. This is step 1. And I am happy to answer any questions you might have. And as Jill mentioned, I would love for you to consider a resolution to formally adopt the climate action plan as a park board and just show your support for the plan.
Carol, what is the exact status of the plan right now? Who has adopted it? And I mean, it's been produced by the committee and now it's being vetted by various town boards, and where does it stand formally?
So formally, it's out in the world. It's posted online. We are going through the strategies, bird by bird, if you will. We're going through them. There have been no formal declarations by a council or park board or the mayor yet. I am working to have all 3 government bodies, if you will, make formal statements adopting the plan. Having a mayoral proclamation, I think I'll be able to get it lined up pretty quickly. But I wanted to time them together. And so I wanted the town council to have enough time to look over the plan, read it, ask questions, get questions answered. And you guys meet once a month, so you get to go first. You're February 10th and they're on the 16th.
We're honored to have that opportunity. So it was a lot of fun to read, very exciting. And I do have I had a great idea. I was getting so excited, was getting all sorts of ideas, but there is responsibility for the Parks Departments, as Carol has shown. So, and many of these things we've done on an ad hoc basis in the past, almost all of them, but maybe not as regularly as adopting this plan would then require. So any other questions from members of the board of Carol or Jill or Mindy? Great. Okay. The one other thing that was parks related that I thought of, and we can go, I don't want to go offline, but for every acre of forest that you have, a year of growth of a hardwood forest will suck up 50 metric tons of CO2. And we start getting into carbon cap sorts of arrangements, the ability to hold on or to and preserve forests or forest land becomes quite important. And that's something that we currently do with our park land. And it's something that we'll have the opportunity to encourage and educate about in the future. So again, that's something that Jared and I maybe can talk about and feed into the committee. But I didn't see anything about trees. I know there's an alliance with the Trees Inc. group, and they probably have all of the relevant data and would be great partners for something like that. Jared, do you have any comment on the plan?
No, one of the biggest commitments that we aren't doing currently is the recycling receptacles in parks, and that is on my 2021 personal goals. So that's happening either way. So a lot of these benchmarks that they're asking of us in this plan are easy to accommodate and completely align with our mission. So.
All right, Jill, if there are no more questions of Carol, Jill, would you go ahead? And I don't know, has everybody received from Jill the proposed resolution adopting the town's climate action plan? Raise your hand if you've received it, or raise your hand if you've not received it. All right, so all members have received it. Jill, would you like to, again, you don't have to read it all, but would you like to make the motion to resolve and adopt the Zionsville Climate Action Plan?
Yes, I would move that the park board adopt the Zionsville Department of Parks and Recreation, Town of Zionsville, a resolution adopting the town's climate action plan. It was emailed to everyone. It basically states that, just looking over here at my copy of it, we released the climate action plan on December 21st of 2020. And without any action, greenhouse gas emissions are expected to double between now and 2050 because our population will. And so we're looking to hold them to our current level, which is going to basically cut everyone's emissions in half. There are the items outlined within the action plan itself talking about how to do that. It's residential energy, commercial energy, transportation. And I would move that we adopt the resolution.
Okay, is there a second to the motion to approve the climate action plan?
I'll second.
I missed that. Was that
John Salovich?
John Salovich.
Yeah, Salovich, yeah.
Seconded Jill Pack's motion to adopt and approve the Zionsville Climate Action Plan. Are there any further questions or discussion? If not, I'll call a roll call vote on the motion. Member Stair?
Aye.
John Wallenberg?
Aye.
Jill Pack?
Aye.
John Salovich?
Aye.
Aaron Bidwell?
Aye.
Sarah Moore?
Aye.
I also vote in the affirmative, so the motion to adopt the Zionsville Climate Action Plan has been approved unanimously 7-0. Great. Thank you, Carol. We
Thank
really appreciate your and the committee's work on this, and we look forward to continuing to work on this. I would say, yeah, I don't know if people understood that the IU Resiliency Institute, Janet McCabe is an old law school classmate of mine, and she has just been appointed to be the deputy EPA administrator at EPA, the number 2 person at EPA. So that was quite exciting to see.
Well, thank you.
Thanks,
All
Carol.
right. Let's move on to the Programming Scholarship Partnership. This was going to bring up the new Parks Foundation, but Jared, would you like to describe this second bit of new business?
Yeah, like I said, we did meet with the newly formed Parks Foundation, and we just kind of went over some long-term goals and kind of began to form how that partnership is going to look. And I suggested that as an immediate inclusion of the foundation, that we involve them in the sponsorship program that we are looking to develop for our programming. So as we've talked, there will be a cost with some programs that we begin to offer, and that is just to retain some of those costs of the program and then reinvest that to further expand our programming. So kind of a snowball effect. And to make that program as equitable as possible, we want to remove any financial barriers for any families that want to participate. So instead of us being the stewards of those donations, we would kind of serve as a promoter and a pass-through to direct people towards the Parks Foundation, where they would receive the donations, review applications, and be the stewards of those dollars for distribution, which would come back to our department so we could provide that place for that participant. So this is really just a beginning framework. Let me pull this up real quick. So part of the responsibilities have started to etch out, and this would probably be eternalized in an MOU that we would form with the foundation. So both of our visions and goals are internalized, and also some of the actionable things each organization would be responsible for. So our commitments would be to feature and promote the donation opportunities and direct people towards the foundation. That would be through our staff, through our websites, or promotional materials, just letting people know that the foundation exists and they can donate to it. And also another responsibility is for us to accept those funds and use them specifically for recreation, fitness, special events, or nature programming. And also for us to meet with the foundation and kind of give them that comprehensive look at what we're offering for the year and the pricing, so they can structure their program for that year. Some responsibilities from the foundation: obviously they would need to develop their website to accept those donations, and we would want them to develop policies for distributing the scholarships in an equitable way, whether that's across different demographics, youth, in different age ranges. Those conversations would be ongoing. We'd want them to develop the application process for the scholarship program, and then, like I said, be the stewards of those funds. One thing that I want to be aware of is if they start receiving a lot of donations and we don't have much of a need, that those funds that were always intended for our recreation programming do come back to the citizens of Zionsville. So I would want to establish thresholds where if there's a surplus of donations, that the foundation would sponsor an entire program, so it would be free for everyone. Or they could be a large sponsor in our community events, or even to the point of purchasing supplies for upcoming events. So really, this is just a framework I wanted to present to you and just kind of have an open dialogue of how we want to structure this moving forward.
Great. Are there any questions of Jared on this? Again, I think this is an opening framework for continued discussion. I guess I would ask Roger, you see that this, again, to me, it seems like it'd be a great way to work with a foundation. Do you see any major issues with it. I'm sure there'll be the smaller issues that will come up, but in general, do you agree that this that we can generally work with the foundation on something like this?
Yeah, I think it's a perfect perfect opportunity. Jared, please send me your draft, and I'd be happy to review it and participate.
Okay, so these are like designated gifts, basically, that people will designate to this particular purpose. And so you're going to keep everything in that designated gift area.
Right. I think, you know, we could either, I would like them to have some form of descriptor, whether they wanted to go to nature-based or youth programming or just a general donation that we would use. But yeah, it's not for our expansion. It's not for park improvements. It's for our community and getting them involved.
Okay.
Yes, Sarah, you guys probably, with your foundation, you probably have a great experience on this. You'll be a great help to us as we move forward with our foundation, which is really new.
Yeah, I didn't know you had a foundation until this meeting. So, well, preparing for this meeting. So, but hearing it's new makes me feel a little better about that. But yeah, I'd be happy to provide any help I can. And we've got a foundation director too that is wonderful. So anytime you need anything with that, just let me know.
Oh, great.
They are in the very, very early stages of organizing and putting together what they want to accomplish going forward. But I think that it's a group that is really very capable. And as Jared said, they're very open to running the scholarship program for us and some other things that they have in mind. And I think that, you know, we'll all benefit next month when Nancy Carpenter comes and speaks to us and lays out some of the more additional plans that they have in mind for working with the Parks Department. I think, you know, Roger pointed out that people would be more likely to contribute to a foundation than they would to the Parks Department, with the idea that, well, they've already paid for the Parks Department with their taxes. You know, a foundation is a good avenue to use to build this scholarship fund. So, and they're open to it. So it's I think the beginning of a great cooperative effort.
Yeah, I think that'll be wonderful. That's the same thing that we found. And, you know, it opens us up to other kinds of giving, like bequests that we otherwise weren't really equipped to handle. So I think it's been really beneficial for us and will be for the parks. So that's really exciting. And I think this program is wonderful too, by the way, because I mean, it's one of the best ways you could start and get the word out about this. And I think it kind of hits home with everybody to want to make these things accessible. And I think it'll really get the word out about this foundation. So it's a great idea.
Just a little background to put this in context, because there is some sensitivity to the issue of fees. And last month we spent a fair amount of time on a proposed cost recovery system as we, Jared and Mindy, look at expanding our recreational programming on the wings of our pros consultancy recommendations. We looked at a philosophy of how we would be charging for our programming and self-funding, basically, our recreational programming. So there was a great, there was pros consulting, and with our presentation last month, there was benchmarking with other parks departments, what they're doing, and they're all doing some sort of cost recovery. So we talked about, one bit of that was that we would, I think member Jill Pack had said, yeah, we want to make sure we have scholarships for people who may not be able to pay the fees. So great, we were very positive about that and went forward. In our fee schedule that came before the town council, I would say that there were questions about, well, this is a Parks Department. Why should we charge people for a public good? That's essentially, and that a program is, whether that's a public good or well, it is a public good, but in our cost recovery philosophy document that we adopted, we said, well, we can do more of this if we do charge, and as long as we charge fairly. So there were some questions about that from town council. Again, our fees are approved by town council. once a year. It wasn't just our fees. There were other fees from other departments that were a part of that town council meeting. So just alert you to the fact that we have an approach that we've adopted. There may be further questions in the near term from certain members of town council about what we're doing. So if you know a town council member, please remember that we've looked at this cost recovery system. We've looked at it, compared it to our what our neighbors are doing, tried to put a philosophy around it, and then this programming scholarship fund is one important part of that cost recovery system. Any other questions on this? All right, let's move on to the Mulberry Fields rugby contract.
All right, we were approached by the Zionsville Boys Rugby Club to utilize Mulberry Fields for 11 games this year, utilizing a template from a previous contract. I just changed up a couple of the terms. I took out the team's responsibility to reseed. I think that's just part of our operations. But we did implement the new $5 usage for the field per event. So we are asking the rugby club for 11 $5 reservations for the Mulberry Field. So $55 for their season. And
we're rich.
Yeah, that's right. But just hoping the board will adopt that contract and we can sign on it and get them out there practicing and playing.
Roger, what is our precedent? What should the board be approving these contracts, or should we let Jared do these on his own? How do you? Again, I've been on the board for 6 years, and I'm not quite sure what the precedent is. It seems I don't know. Maybe you've got more history on this or a better feel for it than I do.
We've got history out the wazoo, but I don't think you want to hear about all that tonight. For the last 3 years, we had an agreement with the youth football, and one reason we did a 3-year agreement was we were tired of doing an agreement every year with them. So that ran out, and I guess football has found another place. Well, I don't know, maybe they'll be back in the fall, but this is pretty short season for rugby, and this is the school which I don't think is a sanctioned sport for the school. That's why they need to do it. I do think it's appropriate for the board to approve this, but I've done so many field usage agreements over the years that I share your concern with having to do that. But I do think it's appropriate. There's certainly things that need to be covered in an agreement like that, like responsibility for various things, including insurance and accidents and, just doing things legally. So it's the same basic agreement that we've approved many times before. So appreciate Jared taking a stab at it, so I didn't have to.
Okay, great.
So
go ahead.
I was going to ask the question. Yeah, I was going to ask the question about the youth football and the reservation calendar for that. Is there? Do we have a calendar? How's that set for this?
I haven't been approached by the Youth Football League yet. I did reach out to them early in the year, but I haven't heard back. But I'm hoping, we have to look at a board and move teams around to make sure everybody's happy. Like, I want that much usage out at Mulberry Field. So bring them out, bring them on.
I was curious about, because it was in the contract that with this group, that they would cover a certain amount of insurance, and you need to have a certain amount of insurance. But then the item about how we would differentiate who would get priorities, one of the people on the list was just private citizens who I don't think are going to cover that kind of insurance. So do we have some documentation of what kind of insurance we require from what group and how that's, handled?
That's a great question.
Well, so the town has a special event policy that some things we get into, not this, because this is not like a one-time event. This is an ongoing event. And I mean, if you go back to when we first built the Mulberry Fields Park, one of the big issues was we had so many organizations wanting to use it that there was actually an umbrella organization that coordinated all of them, because we didn't have the staff to do all the coordination. So there was an organization just for that. But in terms of insurance, I mean, basically, anytime it's an organized athletic organization, they're probably going to have an umbrella nationwide organization that's going to take care of their insurance obligations. I think, Sarah, what you're referring to was that we had, way back when we adopted, when we were faced with all these different requests for using the fields, we adopted a policy to kind of indicate, who should come first, second, third, and fourth. The other thing is, we want to make sure that the park is open to the general public at any times that that the fields are not being reserved for something. So
yeah,
just the ball fields that are actually reserved and used exclusively. And we also want to make sure that there are limits to that, and that those fields are maintained for use by the public during most times. So we also try to make it clear, and we make these organizations submit their schedule to us in advance so that we can approve it and do any coordination that needs to be done. But hopefully, really has slowed down compared to what it was 10 years ago. And I think that's a good thing, that we don't have to devote so much of our time and energy to it, because it really is for these other organizations, and they should be running them, not us.
I have a question as a Cub Master now, with having not much of a home anymore. So would that be a place that we could rent for our outdoor pack meetings?
I actually want to have a conversation next month about nonprofit groups and allowing discounts and basically waiving fees on a regular basis, and just setting up that philosophy as well, so we can have those answers.
So the Scouts would probably want to use a shelter, and we just adopted that shelter policy.
Right. So if we could, I want to introduce that and have something in place so when they ask, we don't necessarily have to charge their organization, and they can come back.
Yeah, as a den leader, I've used those shelters in the past, and so yeah. But
I know where there's a free shelter. If you go under the 100-foot bridge, I think the Scouts will really enjoy that more than anything.
Stay pretty dry. Get some entertainment.
Okay, so we'll come back to this. I'm sure we'll have more approvals, but for the here and now, do I hear a motion to approve the proposed athletic field usage agreement with the Zionsville High School Boys Rugby Club as proposed? If not,
I'll make that motion that we should propose that we should approve the motion as it is presented. Approve the policy as it is presented.
All right, and we would authorize our superintendent to sign on behalf of the Parks Department?
Yes.
Okay. I'll second that motion. So Member Stair makes a motion to approve and authorize superintendent to sign. I have seconded it. Are there any further questions, comments? If not, a roll call vote. John Stair?
Aye.
John Wallenberg?
Aye.
Jill Pack?
Aye.
John Selovich?
Aye.
Aaron Bidwell?
Aye.
Sarah Moore?
aye.
I also vote aye, so the motion passes 7-0. All right, let's move on to the Rail Trail North extension design and build contract. So we are ready to start studying, designing, and putting together build documents for the extension of the rail trail from Heritage Trail Park to a point that will be adjoin Whitestown, and where we hope will have where they have rights anyway to put the rail trail. So I would like to introduce Tricia McClellan, a principal at Rundell, Ernstberger and Associates. Jared, do you have anything you would want to add before we get the details from Tricia?
No, let's hand it to Tricia.
All right, Tricia, take it away. Tell us what we have before us tonight.
So what you have, and I hope everybody had a chance to look at it, I can share my screen if I need to show you that graphic of where the trail is, but Tim did a good job of explaining. It's for us to get a survey for the corridor and then to prepare construction documents and bid documents for that rail trail north extension. So it will have one segment that connects up with Heritage Trail Park, and then it will connect with an existing path along County Road 400 South. And then the next new segment will continue it, as Tim said, over to where Whitestown will eventually hook up with their trail. And then it makes a really good regional connection all the way through Zionsville to the south end of town. Happy to answer any questions. The survey, I am making sure that they're getting us a wide enough swath. If something changes and we can stay on the rail trail rather than jogging onto the middle school property, we'll have the survey information to be able to do that.
Perfect. I put a call into that landowner again yesterday, but haven't heard back. So again, the current plan is just past Heritage Trail Park to come off of the top of the rail embankment. It's not that high there, and then to go down onto school property. And we've talked to the school at some point in the past, and then to get out to 400 South. I have a question, Tricia. I couldn't tell at the very end where we are at 750 East. Do we cross the street? Are we going to design a trailhead or a kiosk or something? Was that the intention?
So at this point, we don't have any kind of a trailhead included in the project. In the master plan, it was not included in that budget. We had identified that, it really would be a nice location to have a trailhead, with it being the north end of the Big Four rail trail. But we don't have the land up there, that would take an additional land. You probably want some parking, and then, like you said, maybe some kind of structure. We are showing a crossing going over County Road 400 South, because we'll need to get to the north side of the road to connect up with Whitestown. So we are showing that crossing. It may happen where I'm showing it. It may happen around the corner. We'll kind of need to have some discussion with Lance to be sure we're crossing, where he would like us to be crossing and in the safest location.
Okay. And again, this is the part of the grant request project that we talked about earlier, where we're cooperating with an adjoining community for a regional trail. This is a critical connection for a trail that will already takes them all the way past Lebanon into Thorntown and on northwest from there. Are there any questions on Tricia? You might remind people and me what our master plan guesstimated this project, this extension north might cost.
I knew you were going to ask me that. Jared, do you remember? I remember it being about 500 before the contingency. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it was around there.
I think it's around 700,000 is the construction estimate. But that's just a rough estimate. I can look that up and get that to you.
While she's looking that up, I wanted to propose placing an additional option in this package as we do bid it out. As you know, the golf course is in a little bit of need of some paving as well. So we've talked about some of those locations that need that priority, and I think we could save a couple dollars by bundling that project in with the rail trail. I spoke with Tricia, and it would be possible to have the contractor bill those two projects separately. So there would be clear definitions between what is rail trail bond money and what is golf course funds.
On that, Jared, is there any need still to improve the rail trail tarmac south of Heritage Trail Park, where there were all that problems, or has that been all fixed?
It's been patched. We did grind down some of those raised roots, so it's a much more enjoyable ride. That's a temporary fix for a couple of years, but right now we have been receiving praise for that.
So the estimate, the master plan estimate, again, this is a master plan level, not construction detail yet, which we'll refine as we get into those plans. But it was 554, so about 500,000. And then we had included some estimate for land acquisition. So that doesn't include land acquisition. And it is a 15-foot wide path.
The critical point is that this is also funded. We have a budget for this. It's tight, but we have a budget from our bond funds. So this is our second bond, which was $3 or $4 million for rail trail extensions. This would be a part of that, assuming that the south extension doesn't blow our budget, if you will. So we're working on the south extension, and that'll be going out to bid sometime in the next month or two. But now it's time to get the study together, to get the survey done, and to get everything ready for the north extension, assuming that it's going to be budgeted either with bond fund or funded either with bond funds or with a grant from DNR. Roger?
Yeah, Tricia, I think we have a partial topographical survey of the area that's close to Heritage Trail Park. So I should get that to you so you can see if that helps. It might help a lot. I'm thinking that, we had something else we were doing and we knew we would be needing that in the future. So we went ahead and had it done a couple of years, 2 or 3 years ago. So I'll email that to you.
Yeah, that would be helpful. That might, we might be able to save some cost with the survey if they don't need to pick that up. And it may save some cost if they've established benchmarks out there that they can use from that previous survey. So yeah, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Oh, and Tricia, this contract is the same as we did with your firm last time, right?
Yes. Yeah, you'll notice it says no Article 14 and 15 or whatever it is, the two that we removed last time. So it is the same. So we did include, as Jared mentioned, an option. So it's an alternate service that would need to be approved separately or can be completely taken out to do the plans to include the golf cart path in the construction bid set.
Okay, great. So is there a motion to approve the agreement with REA as submitted and authorize? Who needs to sign this? Is that me?
President or superintendent.
And authorize the president or superintendent to execute the agreement on behalf of the Parks Department. And is there such a motion? Anyone? If not, I'll so move that we approve this agreement as proposed.
I'll second.
I'll second.
Oh, I missed the first second on that. Was that
That was me.
John Wollenberg seconded the motion that I made to approve the REA contract as proposed. Any more questions or discussion? If not, I'll do a roll call vote. John Stair.
Aye.
John Wollenberg.
Aye.
Jill Pack.
Aye.
John Salovich,
Aye.
Aaron Bidwell,
Aye.
Sarah Moore.
Aye.
I also vote in the affirmative, so the motion carries 7-0. All right, great. Let's move on to the next item on the new business, and that's our community center feasibility study. So again, we have seen Pros Consulting talk about recreational programming and community centers, and we discussed that last month. We have seen the discussions that are, and we'll get briefed on more about the discussions with the Zion Aqua on some sort of joint venture with them involving recreational programming. So go ahead. I'm going to turn it over to you, Jared, to talk about what your thoughts are on what a possible next step might be.
Right. So a community center has been identified in master plans previously. It's been in the minds of our community for years. And one of those first steps is figuring out what that building is going to look like, what amenities we're going to put in, what footprint that's going to take, and what requirements would a building like that need concerning traffic or landscape, stormwater. So this would be an attempt to not only take the Pros Consulting information, but also gauge the community again and kind of understand what amenities we want to place inside of that community center, how large it's going to be, and then also, is it feasible to place in properties that we own, or do we need to look to the future and plan for that? So I kind of spoke with Tricia about potentially looking at that scope of work and identifying whether it would be a good fit for a Zion Aqua and the acreage they have, or potentially out at Heritage Trail Park next to the park with that town-owned property. So Tricia, if you want to go into a little bit more detail of kind of what that study would look like comprehensively, and we can go from there.
Yeah, and again, I can share my screen if that helps with the conversation. So we are teaming with Delve, they're architects in Indianapolis, and then also Councilman Hunsaker, who is an aquatics consultant, and that's really their specialty. It will be a partnership between us and Delve, but you'll see the proposal came from Delve, and the just for simplicity of communicating, they'll be the lead for the project. Basically, this is the first part that you want to go through before you jump into schematic, actually looking at a building, what it will look like and what will be included with it. So it's a very heavy public engagement piece, stakeholder visioning piece that we'll be doing to get input from the public on what they would like to see, what their wishes and desires are, along with a benchmark and precedent study. So it's looking at similar facilities for communities of similar size to understand what's worked for them and what hasn't. And then to look at developing a program, using that public input, and then, staff and board desires too, of course. And the program development really is a list of, we want, this many slides, this many community rooms, a rock climbing wall, whatever that list is. And then some general assumptions for space, so that you start to develop this massing study of the space that we'll need for this particular building, which then lets us look at a couple different sites and very pragmatically, look at the pros and cons for each. So it lets you, identify what will work best for that community center, for the town, and for the park board. So again, it's just kind of the beginning of the process for it. The other important piece of this, we will have some very detailed projections for not only the cost of the building and site, but also the cost to operate and maintain, based on the actual park programs that you incorporate in the building. So that's a real quick overview. I can answer any questions on particular community engagement or particular parts of the process. we pulled this team together because it really is the strengths that we see that we need for the community center and just the direction that we're headed, to be sure that we're looking at it objectively and getting the town what they need.
Would the study of would the structure necessarily involve aquatics, or would that just be one possible part, big part, obviously, of a community center?
It could, I think that's part of the question that we need to answer. How much in demand is that? What kind of income can something like that produce? Is it a lap pool, or is it an indoor or outdoor water park? I think it can be very small when you're looking at aquatic, or very big, but I think we anticipate that that's probably going to be a part of this, which is why we brought Councilman Hunsaker on. They're definitely more of an advisory role, but so that that is a piece of it, we've got that history and that knowledge that they have in terms of the cost and operating costs.
What kind of time frame are you talking about to complete the study?
Jared, do you remember?
I believe it was 3 to 5 months.
That's what I was thinking.
Yep.
3 to 6 is what I was thinking. So.
And one thing to consider as we are moving forward with this is that this is not budgeted within our existing budget. So this would be an appropriation for this project in this year that we would go before town council and ask for the funds. We do have earmarked funds within the general fund that are specifically for our department. So the funds are available, but they are not within the existing budget.
Yeah, we have a list of capital projects, but yeah, we don't have, this is not funded by the bond or, yeah, and remember, a swimming pool is very, very expensive. So, I mean, relatively to past projects that we've had. So, $15 million is the cost of Plainfield's Aquatic Center, I believe, something along those lines.
Plainfield's like 22, but that includes the indoor and outdoor water park.
Yeah, Carmel's, of course, north of that. So we have to consider that. And other questions, yeah. Yeah, this is something we need to go to council on. This may, I just don't know how they feel. I know the mayor would likely be supportive. I don't know how she feels about the aquatic center these days, but certainly, yeah, that's the big question in my mind, is the aquatics part of this. I have to do a quarterly sort of meeting with the council president. So maybe before next month, I can accomplish that. I would hate for Jared to go to council and them not know anything about this. Because yeah, if this was new, we might not achieve our support of the council. So I think we need to get a read from them and let them know what we're, make sure we also brief them on the pros consulting work that we've done, and make sure they know what's going on with our capital recovery. Make sure that the town council president is fully briefed on all of this.
So I'd like to propose that I set up a meeting with Jared and whoever else is interested with the Zionsville Swim Club, because they are very interested in obviously having an aquatic center, and the school is interested in potentially getting rid of the pool so they can have more space in the high school. So I think that it would be prudent for us to speak with them. I know that the head coach of the Zionsville Swim Club has a lot of experience in running a pool, running a recreation center with a pool in it, as well as the assistant coach. And USA Swimming as a national organization has resources that we can pull from in terms of designing pools and talking about expenses, running them, and different types of options that are available for recreation center pools. So that's my 2 cents.
Right, so
Jared, I know I kind of to talk to you about it offline, but I just wanted to put that out there. I'm certainly happy to set up those connections. I don't know exactly how this works, but if I can just set up a meeting with Jared and whoever else wants to come with Eric Meyer, who's the head coach, or if Tim, if you want to be there or however that works, I'm happy to do that because I do think they should be part of this conversation. I mean, there's money that can be made. Carmel can pay for their fancy pool, not only because they have really good high taxes, but they also, and a lot of people going to their high school, but they also host swim meets. And one of the limitations of the pool currently that we have available in Zionsville, we can't host very large swim meets. So you can only have about 3 teams in addition to the team that we have there. And that can bring in a lot of revenue, not only for the pool itself, but also for the surrounding hotels, restaurants, etc.
Yeah, the swim club would be one of our key stakeholders. So we'd have just a small group meeting with them just to talk about their experience and wants and wishes, you know, so I think that would definitely factor into the consideration for the community center.
Okay, so Aaron, please, work with Jared and meet with the swim club. That'd be great. I'll work with Jared and reach out to Council President Garrett and make sure he knows what the next step might be. But please realize we don't have money, and we don't even have in our 5-year plan, which ends next year. So we have to do a new 5-year plan. We didn't have a pool or even a community center in sort of the high priority funded projects. So I think we've all thought that we need a community center, and we're on that path clearly. Let's think about where can we get that, and we don't have the bonding capacity to get that much money either. Even if we were to go to our max bonding capacity, maybe we have 8 million left in capacity if we were to really max out, and but that would have tax implications that would be serious. So.
Do you have the opportunity to go through like a leasing corporation like we did at the library to go beyond our bonding capacity if we needed to?
Don't know.
Okay. Roger's our attorney for the leasing corp, so he might know something about this, but I don't know. Do we anticipate any more additional appropriations this year?
We will be asking for the Heritage Trail Dog Park that was pulled from the general fund, the budget for this year. So we'll be asking for that back with some of those earmarked parks funds. So, and that'll take place in March. All of our other projects that are on the docket were kind of kept within the budget, or they're bonded. So we're good with other projects.
All right, so you anticipate this one going before the council not at the March meeting that you're going to take. They're not going to happen at the same time. They're going to happen at different times.
What we want to do is come back in our March meeting and decide whether to engage Tricia and REA and her partners in studying and reaching out for what our community center with the aquatics option might look like.
Okay.
So that's the proposals. But even before we don't have $100,000 in our budget to design it even. So we would have to go to council to ask for that $100,000 from our capital earmarked, and we'd have to make an argument that it's part of the capital that got earmarked.
Yeah, I was mainly thinking about timing and the different requests that would go in front of the council. Just my experience that sometimes too many things right after another to the council makes them more fiscally conservative, and I was curious as to what order things were going to go mainly and how that's been planned for.
Yeah, this earmark system is brand new this year with Tammy and the CFO, so we're not quite sure how the system works, but in the past couple of years, we've always had the money from day one for our capital projects. For many years, we had no money. And now we have bonded, funded money. And we do have a rainy day fund as well, but we're not talking about using our rainy day fund for this. But yeah, for the Heritage Trail Park project, that will have to go, that's in this earmarked fund. That's not from bond money. So that's our big one right now that will be going to council soon. to loosen up that to get that money to use for Heritage Trail Phase 2,
Okay.
which is coming up in our agenda very soon. Okay, so we're tabling the community center feasibility study. We've got our homework to do before next month. Jared, did you want to add to new business an authorization to bid out the Starkey Stairs and Turkey Foot pedestrian bridge projects?
Yes, pending final legal review from Roger to get that going for that process.
All right, so this is a rough $25,000 to $30,000 project for the pedestrian bridge that has now DNR approvals and design documents, and it's approximately $125,000 project for new wooden stairs in Starkey Park Trail SP3. And we have design documents for both of these. Again, we've seen tentative design documents. Roger, does the board have to look at the design documents, or can we just approve to bid out these projects either one at a time or both together as Jared, with your advice, sees fit?
Yeah, the board really should approve those plans before they go out to bid. That's what you're going to be doing tonight on the Heritage Trail Park Phase 2. Anything that's significant, the board should review the plans and approve them and authorize the bidding process. On the small, we do have some flexibility, where we don't have to go through the full-blown bidding process. But
the pedestrian bridge, the design is, it's a one-pager. Is there a de minimis where the board doesn't have to look at the designs for the Starkey? And please, if you're on the board and you want to see it, let us know, and with no problem deferring this a month. I'm just trying to keep things moving forward as much as possible. And
I don't expect it to take long, but I think we need to share those plans, and Jared, we can cut back on the level of detail. Like, the plans for the Starkey Park, they included all the town's construction specifications, 90% of which don't even apply to this project. So we can certainly cut back on the documentation that gets sent out.
Okay, so we'll defer that till March, unless there's a question or other comment. Okay, let's move on to old business. And Overly Warman Park, Jared or Trish, do you want to give us an update on Overly Warman Park?
Let Trisha.
I can jump in. We had our kickoff meeting with the contractor, and that went well. I think they're going to be a good partner on this project. They are working with their surveyor to get him out there to stake the areas that'll be cleared, so that they can start falling the trees here at the end of February or beginning of March. They have a window that they have to get the trees down, so we're not during bat season, so we don't disturb the Indiana bat. So they'll get started on that, but they are also going to stake the soft trails so that Jared and I can walk that with them, and we can make adjustments. If there's big trees that we've got a trail going through, we're going to adjust it to make as low of an impact on the site as we can. So they're about to get rolling with their work here very soon. They've already started with submittals to us, so we're going on that side of it.
Any questions or comments about Overly Warman Park? Big project.
Have we been in touch with any of the neighborhood association people? Might want to run that trap just to let them know what's going on when, so we don't get a bunch of surprising calls.
Is there good? Similar question, is there going to be a ribbon cutting, or what's the town putting out? Are they standing by with FAQs?
Yeah, once we, FAQs is a good point, but once we do get that finalized with the contractor when they're going to start, we'll set up that ribbon cutting. And of course, we'll want the board and the mayor there to celebrate that event. And at which point we would communicate with Vonterra, because that'll be operations beginning, and we can kind of give them that overview of when they can expect things to start moving in and what that's going to look like.
We could set up an FAQs page on the website and then push that out to everyone kind of with an announcement of when construction is starting. So we could use the website to help communicate that either through, one of the town's newsletters or newspaper or whatever, Facebook, whatever works best to get the word out to them. We can also reach out to the Overly Warman Foundation. That's not the correct name.
Friends of Overly Warman Park.
That's what it is. There you go. And because I know some of them are in the neighborhood, so we could reach out to them and also have them, help to spread the word on construction about to begin.
Remember, we have formal. Who in the mayor's office is now in charge of liaising with HOAs?
I'm not sure.
I'll remember it and let you know, but that would be another person to make sure we brief. Any other questions on Overly Warman? All right. Trish, why don't you talk about Rail Trail South Extension, the close cousin of Overly Warman?
So we are still, bridge design is still being done. They are on track for having the plans done here by the end of this month so that we can bid early in March. Other than that, the plans are ready to go for the trail and the trailhead. We still have the trailhead included in the plans. Depending on the property arrangements, we can pull those out if we need to pull those out of the bid. But basically, they're ready to go, waiting on the bridge design for Starkey Avenue.
All right. For new board members, this project's very important because the entrance to Overly Warman Park, which will be completed, the construction of which will be completed by around year's end, will come from the new extended Rail Trail South. So it needs to be done. It's not as big a project as Overly Warman, but it needs to be done no later than when Overly Warman is finished. So at our next board meeting, which is March 10th, we can, you can get the design documents to board members in advance so that we can have a vote on that design, make any final changes if necessary, and approve and authorize bidding the project out.
Yes, yep, that's the schedule. Yep, the plan.
Any questions from board members? All right. Onward, speaking of approving designs and bidding projects out, let's move on to Heritage Trail Park Phase 2. Jared, you want to, or Trish, want to go over that?
We are ready to bid. We need board approval to send that out. I've actually got the notice ready to go, the email ready to go to the newspaper. It will notice on next Tuesday. If we have approval to bid tonight, then it will notice next Tuesday. Bids would be due March 8th so that we could review them and have a recommendation before the March board meeting.
And no pressure, but March 8th is my birthday, so.
We're already working on the surprise party.
All right, so remind me. So we've seen. I get my projects all mixed. So we've looked at the design of this and the documents, and we need to approve. Have we approved the design and the bid documents, Jared?
I
Roger?
believe they've been distributed but not approved.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about those design documents or bid documents?
That's
Are
what
we-
we were looking at last week, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, right, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that slap in the face.
Is that something that, I don't think I got that because that would have been before I came on. So can that be sent to me?
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we will understand if you abstain, if there is a motion to approve these, Sarah. All right, is there a motion to approve the HTP Phase 2 design documents and construction documents and authorize the board acting through its superintendent and REA to bid out the project, publish the
I would
project,
make that
bid
motion.
it out pursuant to state law?
I would make that motion that we approve the construction documents and go through the bidding process.
I second.
Member Stair has made the motion. Member Pack has seconded it. Is there any question or discussion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote on the motion to bid out our HTP Phase 2 project. John Stair,
Aye.
John Wallenberg,
Aye.
Jill Pack,
Aye.
John Salovich,
Aye.
Aaron Bidwell,
Aye.
Sarah Moore.
I guess I'll abstain since I can't.
All right, Tim.
Tim.
No problem. I approve. So the motion passes 6 in favor and 1 abstention. All right. Any further needs to get this published and anything you need, Trish, from anybody on this meeting?
No, we're ready to go. We'll get it to the newspaper.
All right. You've got dog park listed under old business, Jared. Is there anything you want to talk about on the dog park?
No, I think that was a typo. It should have said Phase 2.
All right.
Taken out.
Under old business, Jared, you wanted us to add nature center inventory.
Yeah, just to add the new list to the existing list of surplus. And I'm confident this is still well below that $5,000 threshold. Many of these addings are very small in monetary value. We'll add them to the list. If they don't sell with the town's larger sale, we could always talk about having a future yard sale. And then after that, figuring out what to do with them.
So Roger, help us with what kind of motion we're looking for to authorize the liquidation of the listed nature center inventory items presented to board members yesterday or in advance of this meeting. What do we need?
Yeah, just a motion to declare it as surplus property with a aggregate value of less than $5,000.
With what kind of value less than 5,000? Cumulative, individual items?
Yeah, aggregate value of less than 5,000 in total.
All right. Jared and Mindy, you're sure that the aggregate value of all those items is less than $5,000? You
Yes.
do attest to that?
I'll split the difference if not.
Okay. Well. All right. Is there a motion to declare as excess the listed nature center inventory items and authorize Jared to liquidate it?
I will move that.
I will second it. So Member Pack moves. I have seconded the motion to declare nature center inventory listed as excess and authorize superintendent to liquidate. Any other questions? Roll call vote. John Stair,
Aye.
John Wallenberg,
Aye.
Jill Pack,
Aye.
John Salovich,
Aye.
Aaron Bidwell,
Aye.
Sarah Moore.
Aye.
I also vote aye, so the motion passes 7-0. All right. Is there any other board-related items? All right, then we'll move on to claims. You've all received a copy of proposed submitted claims. Are there any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve claims as submitted?
I'll make a motion to approve claims as submitted.
Somebody like to second Member Solovich's motion to approve claims?
Second.
John Wollenberg seconds. Roll call vote. John Stair,
Aye.
John Wollenberg,
Aye.
Jill Pack,
Aye.
John Salovich,
Aye.
Aaron Bidwell,
Aye.
Sarah Moore.
Aye.
I also vote aye, so the motion to approve claims is submitted, passes 7-0. Okay, our next meeting is the second Wednesday of March, which is March 10th. With that knowledge that we'll be back together again, can somebody now move to adjourn tonight's meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn. Yep.
I think that was a unanimous motion to adjourn, but we'll say that Salovich made the motion and Stair seconded. All in favor, raise your right hand. I attest that the motion unanimously passes to adjourn. So thank you all. Thank you, park lovers, for participating in our February meeting. We'll see you all again in March. It'll be a busy meeting in March.